The newly released horror game sensation Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 is just released, and it's only natural that we cover the title and the series. So keep an eye out for the first 2 chapters of the franchise that will be released in the next few days on the channel. Let's get straight into the story. We open up with an entire animated short of the different toys at Playtime Co. called the Smiling Critters. Is it just me, or is the design choice to go back to having the entire eye black while the eye itself is white just adds this chilling undertone to these characters? The toys are having an issue falling asleep due to the loud winds outside when a knock at the door shows another toy arriving, much to the delight of the others. A purple cat named Catnap. Using a kind of what I would presume is a toxin, it causes them all to fall asleep in the most horrific way possible, and it cuts to a news report, as the reporter mentions how the new Catnap toy might be dangerous for your children to play with. It was intended to release with the same toys feature within the cartoon, as they begin to sell in stores. But it's now facing controversy due to the inclusion of Catnap. See, Catnap seems innocent enough at first glance. You pull his tail and he seems to spray something from his mouth area of the toy. But things have begun to take a turn for the worse since parents are reporting that their children are experiencing strange and violent nightmares. The one thing in common among all of these children? The Catnap doll. Personally, after watching the end of that cartoon, it seemed pretty damn obvious that there is something much more sinister at play regarding that damn company. But at least the parents are finally starting to clue in. Playtime Co. have recalled every Catnap doll released within the Smiling Critters line, and even removed him from all the promotional material. While the cause of the nightmares and dreams is still uncertain, it's clear that your children are not safe with Catnap. Cue the title screen. We continue from our previous story point in Chapter 2, as our main protagonist was knocked unconscious during the train crash. But while awaking, we can see that something else currently has us in its grasp and is throwing us down a tube. A giant purple cat. I'm sure it's just a coincidence and not at all related to the cartoon that we just watched. We're in a trash compactor and we need to get the hell out of here quickly, which we do, eventually finding a VHS of Claire Harper. It is an interview as Claire is being asked questions regarding an incident. Claire explains that the children were going to sleep like any other night, while Catnap had the red smoke in the room with them. But suddenly, a scream. Claire mentions that this was not just a regular old nightmare. The pupils were dilated and their lips were quivering. I mean, look, if this was the thing tucking me in at night, I think I would also have the same goddamn reaction. That seems like a reasonable level of fear to me. Claire points out that the child's eyes were darting around the room, and even reported that it felt like her blood was boiling beneath her skin. Claire panics a little at the thought of what that child saw in the nightmare, to which the interviewer assures Claire that she will be getting the best support needed at Playtime Co. But before that, asks Claire if the child described what she saw. According to the child, it was a monster but colourless. Claire pointed out how hard the child's heart was pounding and that her movements were wild, arms flailing and kicking her legs. It was a dream, but for the child it was as real as anything. It was right there in front of her. Claire asked the interviewer if she can see the child again to check up on her since the event, but the interviewer advises against it, saying that they have many concerns that need to be addressed at this time, but assures Claire that the child's vitals are normal and they will continue to monitor her progress. Claire loses it, screaming, telling the interviewer that she isn't comforted by that, before subtly suggesting that the little girl is actually her daughter. We find a phone on the wall ringing and a young child answers. He mentions that he doesn't want us to die and that we look lost, so they plan on helping us, providing us a battery in order to get out of the room. We can even find the train wreckage from before, to which the child points out that Catnap found us in there. He says how mad we must be at Poppy for trying to stop us from escaping, but emphasizes that she needs our help. They need us, and we are their mission, believing that we could save a lot of people. We're pointed towards a place named PlayCare, a home of Catnap, and it's mentioned how there used to be 8 of the Smiling Critters, but now there's only Catnap left, and that PlayCare is his church and hunting ground. This, by the way, is a great big example of why we should not go there. Avoid that place at all costs, please, for the love of God. The kid introduces himself as Ollie as we head down the tunnel. We get inside a tram as it begins to move and a film is played. The film in question is narrated by none other than Elliot Ludwig, the creator of this place. He goes on a big speech about a particular thing that he believes the world needs more of. Asking different people, he got a variety of answers, including money, consideration, and faith. But for him, the answer is smiles. He points out that a smile is hope, love, and understanding, and he loves nothing more than being the reason that a child smiles. Creating a world with more hope and love, a place where children can smile and be protected, a safe home. So, Playtime Co. created PlayCare, an on-site orphanage. It is its own community and ecosystem beneath the facility, a place dedicated to ensuring a child's smile. I do have to say, by the way, that this sequence really felt inspired by the opening sequence of BioShock. Think about it. The creator of the world giving their world perspective that leads them to create their optimal world. The slow panning shots while the narration plays in the background. Not to mention that both worlds being under something. Rapture was underneath the ocean, hidden away from the rest of the population, much like PlayCare, hidden below the facility, away from everybody above. Oh, and also, who else did we speak to over a radio that guided us through the city? Just a thought. When we arrive, it's actually not too bad at first. That is, until you take 2 steps and can see the blood on the stairway. Nice. Ollie rings and mentions that kids used to live down here, and now it's a mess. Yeah, no crap. We need to head down below the central statue in order to power everything within PlayCare, and this place is quite large. We can find these little boards that show different members of the smiling critters, including Picky Piggy, Hoppy Hopscotch, Crafty Corn, Bubba Bubbaphant, Kickin' Chicken, Bobby Bear Hug, and Dog Day. The one missing due to the rubble is Catnap, of course. We get the key from Ollie and head to the one place that every good orphanage needs, the gas production facility. This is the place that creates the red smoke that Catnap is breathing out. Ollie needs us to divert the remaining red smoke to the left instead of the right. We go about all the puzzles, but somebody turned off the power right before we could get the gas to go to the left, and now we need to turn on the backup generator, which requires us to go to the terrible haunted house up on the hill. Inside are pictures of some of the children that once lived here, and rooms filled with that red gas from earlier. A radio can be found, and when played, it mentions that the body of a young boy was found on the estate of the late Elliot Ludwig, showing that Elliot Ludwig is no longer alive. The child's identity is still unknown, but the remains of the child were found in a duffel bag upstairs in the house. It was reported by police on the scene that the remains had been disturbed, since key skeletal fragments and even organs are missing from the body. It is still open to the possibility that the extraction of organs and bones could have been the cause of death as well. Playtime Corporation were contacted for a statement regarding the news and responded with this, and I quote, "It's sickening. Elliot Ludwig was a great man, and those who knew him understood that he was not capable of such violence, let alone what others now claim. He had a deep love in his heart for children like this one, making the actions of whoever planted this body all the more sick. We look forward to clearing his good name both in the public eye and in the eyes of the law." A phone can be heard ringing down the corridor. Ollie's on the other end telling us to run. And oh my. Yep, right with you on that one, Ollie. The radio continues mentioning how the public still doubt Ludwig's innocence due to his reclusive personality, which lends suspicion to the claim. His neighbours even mentioned how he would return to his home at strange hours of the night and would depart again before the sunrise. The drastic change in voice is a nice touch.
Sunrise. Some believed he was sick. Others that don't move an inch. Playtime Co., it seems.
Not to mention the cat claw marks everywhere. We reach the kitchen of what I can only describe as a literal embodiment of a hell house. We can find happy and fun, why was it done, etched into the wall alongside a VHS tape. If it isn't Huggy Wuggy, the video is addressed to the staff within PlayCare, mentioning all the great things that they're doing for the children here, and also that if they are feeling unhappy about anything going on, the Playtime Co. is here to listen to their every concern. How gracious. Oh, and this.
And should you come back years later, your conscience finally getting the better of you, may you descend into the dark and the dust, finding all that awaits you are incomprehensible horrors, each hungry for your return, each eager that they might find you. Perhaps they'd smile at you from a shadow, their smiling mouths full of teeth and meat and plastic, watching and waiting patiently for their turn at a warm welcome. Or perhaps They won't allow you such time to figure your place in the world you'd left. A world that's theirs now. Welcome home.
Yeah, that's some straight paranormal It type of stuff. Dear God. It catches us and we awake back in the house. It's likely that we saw the nightmare due to the red gas from earlier. A neat observation is the cardboard cutout of Mummy Longlegs. These cutouts have been scattered throughout each of the 3 chapters. Upon pressing the button you get a nice little voice line. But this one of Mummy Longlegs doesn't actually say anything. Instead, it's just static, making me wonder if this is due to Mummy Longlegs getting badly hurt in the 2nd chapter. And if their fate relates to the cutouts, does that also mean that the voice talking is not a recording at all? Instead, it's the actual creature. I guess the smiling critters would have been static also if that were the case, but hey, maybe they're still alive. We use a gas mask to traverse the rest of the house, since the red gas is everywhere, and we find another VHS. This time it is about Subject 1322, who was pulled from Home Sweet Home due to abnormalities in his neural signals. We can hear a voice in the background ask the narrator what Kevin is doing here, asking if he is sick and why he would be taken away. The narrator is clearly concerned, but assures the voice that Kevin is sick and needs help getting better here. He assures the child, who is revealed to be named Joseph, that his friend Kevin is getting the best care that he can. Randomly in one of the rooms, we can find Kissy Missy just sitting, looking at a picture of a child. Considering what we know about the experiments taking place, I wonder if that child was actually her. Another VHS can be found of a bunch of young children asking their teacher who was picked. The teacher informs the student that Dr. White has selected Samuel Lee. Ominously, the teacher asks the class to give Samuel one last goodbye as he heads off with Dr. White. We are to presume that that is young Samuel there in the video. Oh God, it follows us around. I couldn't even imagine trying to get sleep with that thing in the room. Those poor kids. We get the hell out of the house for obvious reasons after starting up the backup power. As we leave, however, Kissy Missy grabs us and holds us to the ground. But thankfully Poppy jumps in and saves our ass from being toy food. Poppy reiterates that we can help them and is thankful that Ollie has helped us get to where we are, and mentions that he is the only reason that they found us at all. She rides on Missy Kissy's shoulder like she's Pikachu, and asks us to follow her so she can give us an explanation. Poppy opens up a secret door that has a notable flower on it, the same flower seen at the secret door in Chapter 1, and the letter that we received back there in the first place. She goes on to say that she isn't our enemy, but she also cannot allow us to leave since what is happening here is bigger than all of us. She needs revenge against the monsters who have hurt us. She points out that these creatures are just simply tools of the prototype, the real head honcho behind everything that is happening. The prototype is the claw hand thing that took Mummy Longlegs in Chapter 2. We turn the power back on for PlayCare as Poppy mentions how the prototype is the reason that she was locked away in the case for so long, and that it would not allow us to leave alive. She wants us to kill the prototype, since we're proven to be capable, since we killed Huggy Wuggy and Mummy Longlegs thus far. Catnap can be heard as Poppy leaves, mentioning how Catnap is the prototype's final obstacle, and mentions that Ollie will continue to help us. Ollie calls back, and using his guidance, we do some electrical work, restoring some power to the central statue. The crappy part is the fact that we need to reroute power from each area of PlayCare. Alright, on to the next one. We head to the school since Catnap apparently leaves that place alone for some reason. Honestly, music to my ears. Oh, never mind. Thought we'd get a break from the killer toys for a moment. Silly me. Another Playtime Co toy begins speaking over the school speaker. This time, Miss Delight. She actually recognizes us and mentions how we used to work here, but is curious how we're still alive. Someone named Barb tells her that we are looking for our co-workers. She tells us to leave since Catnap wouldn't like us, snooping around the school. We find another VHS of Mr. Light asking someone where the children are and if they're safe. The other person doesn't tell her where the children are, but does assure her that they are safe. Then Mr. Light gets a little nuts.
And that was it. That's all he'd tell me. Probably because he knew I'd kill them all.
A note can be found mentioning something called the Hour of Joy, which took place a few weeks prior to the letter being written. It mentions how all the children have been taken from the school and how silent it is now without them, before mentioning how something or someone locked the front door to the school, and the teachers have been unable to get it open since. They heard a knock at the door, something breathing. It wouldn't speak when called out to, and Mr. Light believes that it's likely this thing that's responsible for locking them inside the school. Spoiler alert, it's Catnap. She's created a weapon out of pencils, rulers, tape and twine, which she now calls Barb, intending to use it as a weapon when the door opens. There hasn't been food for days, and Mr. Light feels that she has been singled out to die since they blocked the kitchen with their bodies. She is so starving that all that she can think about is food. She can barely get herself off the floor, but Barb is now speaking to her, telling her to stay completely still so the other teachers think that she's dead. That is until she can strike. Barb tells her how she needs to eat and the other teachers wouldn't see it coming. We continue through the school and Mr. Light threatens us once again, saying that she can't wait to hear how our screams sound, and if they sound like the other humans that she's killed. Nice. Another note has Mr. Light apologizing for eating people, saying that they just needed to, and they had no choice. Just some casual cannibalism thrown into the mix. We start up the backup power and Mr. Light arrives and shuts that crap down so quickly, and gives me the biggest scare yet. She is a bit like those sleeping angels. If you look at her, she won't move, but if you look away or lose sight of her, she will chase you down. It does, however, turn out that gates seem to be her one big weakness. Guess she didn't see that coming. A nearby note shows that Mr. Light and Barb found Catnap at some point and realized that he was the one that shut the door and forced them to eat each other. Mr. Light wanted to kill him but knew that she was not able, instead making a deal with Catnap. They would report what they see to one another, and most importantly, him. I know, it sounds like the meme, he is him, is he him? I'm pretty certain that the prototype is him. We get beneath the school in what I can only describe as the type of Batcave that would make Bruce Wayne jealous. A nearby VHS tape has an ex-Playtime Co. employee speaking to another staff member, most likely Avery, about the poor conditions that he feels that the children are being held in down here, saying that they deserve more than a painted sky and fake walls. This is the same employee that can be heard in the previous 2 chapters talking about his issues with the company. In Chapter 1, we heard Avery mention how Rich is the more vocal of the two, always complaining. This complaining actually got Rich demoted in Chapter 2 to the Rejected Room, the same place that Poops a Lot is currently residing. He complained for years to the company, but never got a response. Overall, he seems like a pretty decent guy, actually caring about the orphans, further showing us that not all staff at Playtime Co. were evil or even knew what was happening. This is very easy to miss, but if you take a quick look down, you can see Catnap praying to a type of shrine. I had to grab some extra footage just to see up close, and it appears that old PJ from the Statues game in Chapter 2 is not doing all that well anymore. Many puzzles in the Batcave later, and we get through into another area of PlayCare called the Playhouse. The rooms are much smaller, as we can see little toys now wandering around this place. Thankfully, our little upgraded handgun allows us to deal with these little suckers. We can find an interview VHS with Catnap being interviewed by Playtime Co. staff. A very interesting point is made when the interviewer addresses Catnap. He points out that he should try his real name before calling him Theo. He tells Theo, or Catnap, that Dr. Sawyer is out at the moment, so he'll be standing in as his replacement. The way it's presented suggests that Dr. Sawyer is not breathing any longer. Theo has been in this new Catnap body for 4 years now, and the interviewer congratulates him for it. However, Catnap has apparently not been getting along well with the kids like the other smiling critters have. But now, with the red smoke, the kids love Catnap. I'm just going to play the game audio for the final part of this interview because I think they really captured the creepiness needed for this thing.
Is his, voice thingy still broken?
Prototype will save us.
Theo, nobody's gonna save you. This prison is where you belong. We'll let you out here and there to go see the kids in PlayCare, but your home is here. And as for the prototype, his home is in the labs. This is your life now. Get used to it.
Prototype is in the labs while Catnap is stuck in PlayCare. Got it. The place is designed like an adventure course for kids. A bunch of tunnels and obstacles to climb and have fun with. Down in the depths of the place, however, is a bunch of jail cells, which I am almost certain aren't in real playhouses. But then again, it's been a long time since I've been to one of those places. And in one of the cells, we can find Dog Day, looking pretty damn rough if you ask me. Dog Day is a member of the Smiling Critters and was presumed dead since, to the best of our knowledge, Catnap had apparently killed them all, before pointing out that there's nothing really much to save anymore, and that we're in Catnap's home, which means that millions of eyes are now watching our every move, pointing out how they all want to get under our skin and eat us alive. I think he is referencing the little guys that we were annihilating earlier. And if I can be honest, pal, I think that we have them covered, to be honest. I mean, I was using them as literal target practice. Dog Day makes an interesting point, stating that the prototype is Catnap's god, and Dog Day is an example of what Catnap does to heretics. The little guys are scared to get the same treatment as Dog Day, so they just follow Catnap and in return they get fed. The Smiling Critters tried to fight the prototype's control, and as a result Dog Day is the last of them left, and there isn't even much of him left, to be honest. He tells us to leave and save this place with Poppy before these little critters come out to pay old Dog Day a visit. Oh my, as if things could get worse for him. They somehow did. They possess Dog Day, chasing us out of the area, and we get ourselves back to the surface pronto. Ollie gives us a call and mentions the shrine we saw earlier, saying that Catnap made it in honor of the prototype, not to mention some background information on Catnap. Apparently before Catnap became Catnap, there was a serious accident where he almost died, but the prototype saved Theo's life, giving up on his own freedom in the process. Catnap views Prototype like a superhero that saved this place. Anybody that opposes Prototype gets killed by Catnap, and Ollie even mentions that the shrine is just a smaller version of what the real thing it looks like, which is incredibly worrying. We waste no time and head to the counsellor's office, reconnecting power lines. We have another VHS tape of a couple looking to adopt a child named Jeremy from PlayCare. This is the same Jeremy that walked in and asked how his friend Kevin was going. However, it turns out that there was some complications, stating that some kind of testing was going on so they wouldn't be able to adopt Jeremy. Oh god. Getting through the office requires us to have a mask on the whole time, since the rooms are full of that red smoke that Catnap loves. However, Catnap does ambush us, and locks us within a room and takes away our mask, causing us to fall asleep and enter one of those nightmares of Catnap. Within the dream, Poppy can be heard asking us to find the flower, and that this place is not easily escaped. We can see the children of the orphanage and the creatures watching over them. Poppy asks us if we know what we're seeing, and if we know what they once were, showing us just why we need to end this place. We can see Huggy Wuggy as the screams of people can be heard in the background, while the prototype looks over. We awake as Catnap gives us a final warning. Leave PlayCare or Catnap will be turning us into beef jerky. I vote to leave, but we're pretty committed this far, so why not? We get all the power together from the places that we've entered, and we have now charged up a big-ass battery. This battery is our ticket out of here, and Ollie is going to help us through the final steps. We get back down to the containers at the red gas and turn the power back on so it diverts the gas to the western side. Catnap arrives and is not pleased by this decision, to say the least. I must say he is looking a lot more gaunt and less furry than normal, but we manage to use the elevator to get out of the room that's now flooded with red gas. We find a log upstairs about experiment 1006, aka the prototype. The interviewer mentions how Prototype has been awfully quiet as of late, but has learned a lot about him anyway. Before he can explain, Prototype speaks again, asking a question. We can hear that Prototype can mimic voices, and doesn't actually have a singular voice, instead opting to constantly change voices throughout a sentence. It's almost robotic in nature. He asks the interviewer if he feels any different, since he sticks them, beats them, and tears at their flesh, speaking as if it consists of multiple personalities instead of a singular person. The interviewer says that there is an incredible secret inside of 1006, and that they will burn and prod until they find it. The interviewer doesn't seem to care how 1006 reacts, saying that anything he does teaches him more about the secret inside of the prototype, and 1006 has a pretty damn spooky response.
Oh, don't fight or give in. Regardless, I learn something new about you every day. It excites me.
Thank you.
You thank me?
Absolutely.
I learn something new about you every day.
Catnap arrives again as we do our side hustle as an electrician, but manages to use the electricity to empower our grab pack and fry Catnap with it. That is until Prototype arrives to help Catnap like before, remembering that Prototype had saved Catnap's life earlier. But this time around, Prototype had different plans it seems and hits the killing blow, presumably killing Catnap for good. We return to the main room where Poppy is waiting, mentioning how we have successfully diverted the red gas and killed Catnap, but we deserve the truth if we're going to keep going. She plays a VHS tape, explaining that this is what happened to our co-workers that disappeared. After all, that is why we returned to playtime, saying that it's something that they called the Hour of Joy. In a moment's notice, everyone was killed, as each of the toys came to life.
I remember hearing every moment of it. It went on so long, so agonizingly long. They tried to hide, to run, anything to stay alive. I remember their cries. What's going on? Why is this happening? What are those things? Senseless slaughter, that's all it really was. They killed everyone. The guilty, the innocent, didn't matter. All of that death didn't fix anything. And then, once it was all over, they dragged those corpses down below where they'd never be found. And they ate the bodies to stay alive. Prototype has to die for this, for everything.
So, the Hour of Joy is a pretty damn messed up way of explaining it, but I've grown used to it at this stage. We begin descending down a nearby elevator as we can hear screaming from Kissy Missy above us. We attempt to get back to her but are unable, much to the horror of Poppy. And that ends the story of Chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime. I have to say I was quite impressed with the horror aspect of this title, a big leap from the previous two chapters. I will be releasing the previous two chapters story explained videos over the week, which are already made at the time of this video being out, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end, put Dog Day in the comments down below. He went out rough, so let's give the guy some love. Remember to like the video as it helps the channel out immensely and subscribe for more content in the future. Until next time, peace.